Every morning, before the world names you, before your phone reminds you who you owe and what you lack, there is a quiet second where your unconscious is listening. Most people waste it. They wake already apologizing for existing, already bracing for abandonment, already negotiating with a pain that was planted long before they had language for it. This is the secret no one teaches you. Your psyche does not respond to logic in the morning. It responds to memory. The child you once were wakes up before the adult you pretend to be. And that child still believes love must be earned, danger is everywhere, and silence means rejection. So you repeat the same life, the same lovers, the same fears, the same self-betrayal, just with different faces. Carl Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Morning is the moment when fate is still negotiable. What you tell yourself in that fragile, unguarded state becomes an imprint, an emotional blueprint, a quiet command to the nervous system. This is who I am. This is what I expect. This is how the world treats me. These are not affirmations, they are confrontations. 10 sentences to face the shadow before it runs your day. I am not in danger right now. Your body learned fear before it learned language. Long before you could name emotions, before you could explain what hurt or why, your nervous system was already taking notes. It memorized tone, absence, sudden changes in faces, the sound of footsteps, the feeling of being left alone too long. Trauma did not enter you as a story. It entered you as a sensation, a tightening in the chest, a shallow breath, a vigilance that never learned how to turn off. That is why, years later, you can wake up with your heart racing and have no idea what you are afraid of. The mind searches for reasons, but the body already believes it knows the truth. Something is wrong. Trauma is not the past returning as memory. It is the past repeating itself as a reflex. Attachment wounds teach the nervous system brutal lessons. Love disappears without warning. Safety is temporary. Closeness is followed by pain. And so the body stays on guard, even in silence, even in safety, even in the morning light of a room where nothing bad is happening. The adult mind may know the danger is over, but the body does not live in time. It lives in pattern. It lives in last time. Every morning, this reflex wakes up before you do. The tension in your shoulders, the clenched jaw, the sense of urgency with no object. These are not reactions to today. They are echoes of then. Of moments when you were too small to leave, too dependent to fight, too unseen to be protected. The body learned that alertness was survival. It learned that relaxing meant risk. So it keeps you braced, prepared for an impact that may never come. When you say, I am not in danger right now, you are not denying what happened. You are not minimizing your pain or pretending the past was harmless. You are doing something far more radical. You are speaking directly to the part of you that never learned words. You are interrupting a loop that has been running automatically for years. This sentence is not for the intellect. It is for the nervous system. It is an update, not an erasure. Say it slowly, because speed feels like threat to a traumatized body. Say it gently, because harshness sounds like the voices that once hurt you. As you say it, notice what happens in your muscles. Notice the breath drop a little lower. Notice the faint possibility of softness. That is your body listening, testing, wondering if this time might be different. You are not back there anymore. You are not trapped in that room, that silence, that unpredictability. The danger taught you how to survive, but it does not get to define your present. Each morning, this sentence reminds your body where you are now. It teaches safety through repetition. And slowly, painfully, tenderly, the body begins to believe what the mind has known all along. This moment is not the past, and you are still here. My feelings are information, not commands. As a child, your emotions were not just inner experiences. They were survival instructions. Fear told you when to stay quiet, when to disappear, when to watch carefully. Shame taught you how to fold yourself smaller so you wouldn't attract rejection. Longing taught you to cling, to attach, to hold on tightly because separation felt like death. In a world where you had little power and few choices, feelings were not suggestions, they were orders. Obeying them kept you connected, and connection meant safety, or at least the illusion of it. Your nervous system adapted brilliantly. It learned to act fast, to react before thinking, to let emotion lead the way. That strategy saved you once. But what protects a child can imprison an adult. The tragedy is not that you feel deeply. It is that part of you still believes every feeling must be followed, trusted, acted upon immediately. You confuse intensity with truth, urgency with reality, familiar pain with meaning. Adulthood asks something terrifying and necessary: a new relationship with emotion. Not rejection, not suppression, not spiritual bypassing, but distance, perspective, choice. To feel without surrendering authority. To listen without obeying. When you say, my feelings are information, not commands, you are reclaiming sovereignty over your inner world. You are acknowledging that emotions carry data about your inner state, your history, your unmet needs, but they do not get to dictate your behavior or define who you are. Desire does not mean destiny. Often, it is the echo of a wound seeking resolution. You may want what once abandoned you, crave what feels just out of reach, mistake intensity for intimacy. That longing is not a prophecy, it is a pattern. Anxiety does not mean danger. It is the body remembering a time when uncertainty led to harm. It rings alarms even when there is no fire. Loneliness does not mean unworthiness. It is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is evidence of a social nervous system that learned separation too early, too sharply. Shadow work lives here. Not in silencing emotion, but in dethroning it. The shadow is not your feelings. It is your unconscious obedience to them. The part of you that reacts without reflection, that sabotages without awareness, that calls it instinct, when it is really history. To integrate the shadow is to sit with emotion and ask, what are you trying to tell me? Instead of, what must I do right now? This is not emotional coldness, it is emotional maturity. You still feel fear, desire, sadness, longing, but they no longer drive the car. They sit in the passenger seat speaking, sometimes loudly, sometimes desperately, while you keep your hands on the wheel. And in that space between feeling and action, a new freedom appears. You are no longer ruled by what you feel. You are informed by it. I do not need to earn my right to exist for many people. The idea of simply existing without justification feels foreign, even dangerous. Somewhere early in life, love became transactional. Attention arrived when you performed well, behaved correctly, stayed quiet, succeeded, or met someone else's needs. Affection was not a steady presence, it was a reward. And when you failed to perform, when you needed too much, spoke too loudly, or simply rested, the warmth disappeared. The nervous system learned a devastating equation: existence alone is not enough. So you adapted. You became useful. You learned to anticipate others' needs before they were spoken. You read the room, adjusted your tone, softened your desires, sharpened your achievements. Praise became proof of worth and silence felt like danger. Being ignored was not just painful, it was threatening. To a child, disconnection feels like annihilation. And so you kept moving, giving, trying, becoming more, always more, because somewhere deep inside lived the belief that stopping would mean being left. This belief does not fade with age, it mutates. In adulthood, it becomes over-functioning. You carry more than your share. You say yes when your body is screaming no. You give explanations no one asked for, hoping clarity will secure belonging. You apologize for taking up time, space, emotion. Rest feels undeserved. Boundaries feel selfish. You confuse exhaustion with virtue. All the while, a quiet panic hums beneath the surface: if I am not useful, I am at risk. When you say, I do not need to earn my right to exist, you are not making a motivational statement. You are grieving. You are mourning the child who learned that love had prerequisites. That presence had to be justified. That being was not enough. You are speaking to the part of you that never stopped auditioning for safety. This sentence challenges a core wound, not a surface habit. That is why it can feel uncomfortable, even wrong. Trauma resists the idea of unconditional permission to be. You do not need to deserve space. Space is not a prize, it is a fact. You are already here. Your breath, your body, your awareness are evidence enough. You do not have to prove your value through sacrifice, productivity, or perfection. Those strategies were born from fear, not truth. They were intelligent responses to an unsafe emotional environment, but they are no longer required for survival. Repeating this sentence is an act of re-parenting. It teaches the nervous system a new rule: I am allowed to exist even when I am tired, even when I fail, even when I have nothing to offer. Over time, this truth loosens the grip of compulsive giving and constant self-erasure. You begin to rest without guilt, to speak without rehearsing, to be without apologizing. Existence is not something you earn, it is something you inhabit. And every time you remind yourself of that, you step out of performance and into presence, where real connection has always been waiting. What I desire may be a wound asking to be seen. This is the most dangerous realization you can have, and the most liberating, because it dismantles the illusion that desire is always truth. We are taught to trust what pulls us, to follow what excites us, to believe that intensity is evidence of meaning. But the psyche does not organize itself around happiness. It organizes itself around unfinished business. Desire is often not a compass pointing forward, but a magnet pulling us backward toward unresolved pain. We chase what once abandoned us because the wound still believes the story is not finished. The unavailable lover feels irresistible not because they are right, but because they resemble someone who once withheld love at a moment when you needed it most. The chaotic job feels alive not because it fulfills you, but because instability is what your nervous system learned to equate with normal. The emotional roller coaster feels like passion, because calm was never modeled as safe. The body recognizes these patterns instantly. It says, "I know this," and familiarity disguises itself as destiny. This is not weakness, it is repetition compulsion, the psyche's attempt to rewrite the ending of an old story. If you can just be loved by the unavailable, chosen by the distant, successful in the chaos, then maybe the original wound will finally close. But it never does, because the past cannot be healed by reenactment. It can only be healed by awareness. When you say, "What I desire may be a wound asking to be seen," you interrupt the trance. You pause the automatic reach toward what hurts. You stop confusing longing with alignment. This sentence does not shame desire, it questions it. It asks whether the pull you feel is toward growth, or toward familiarity dressed up as fate. This realization is dangerous because it strips desire of its authority. You can no longer blindly obey it. You must listen more carefully. You must tolerate the discomfort of not acting immediately. And that space, between impulse and action, is where shadow work begins. The shadow is not what you want, it is why you want it. It is the hidden belief underneath the craving: if I get this, I will finally be enough. If I win this love, I will repair the past. Curiosity dissolves compulsion. When you meet desire with inquiry instead of obedience, it softens. You may still feel the pull, but you are no longer owned by it. You begin to ask different questions. What does this remind me of? When did I first feel this hunger? What part of me learned to equate love with absence, intensity with worth, struggle with meaning? Seeing the wound does not immediately remove the desire, but it transforms your relationship to it. You stop chasing ghosts, you stop mistaking pain for purpose, and slowly, as the psyche realizes it no longer has to scream to be noticed, desire changes its shape. What once demanded repetition begins to ask for healing. I can tolerate discomfort without abandoning myself for a nervous system shaped by trauma. Discomfort does not feel like a temporary sensation, it feels like a threat. Long before you had the power to leave, to speak, or to protect yourself, discomfort meant danger. It meant rejection, punishment, or emotional isolation. So your psyche learned a rule that once kept you alive: get out as fast as possible. Escape the feeling, escape the moment. Escape yourself if necessary. And that rule followed you into adulthood, long after the danger was gone. Attachment trauma teaches this lesson quietly and relentlessly. When emotional pain arose and no one came to help you regulate it, your system learned to self-rescue through disappearance. You learned to numb, distract, intellectualize, or self-sabotage. You learned to abandon your own experience before it could overwhelm you. Leaving yourself became the safest option. Over time, this pattern stopped feeling like a choice and began to feel like instinct. Now, even mild discomfort can trigger that old survival response. A difficult conversation, a moment of uncertainty, a feeling of loneliness, a wave of anxiety. And suddenly your body is screaming to run. You reach for distractions. You shut down emotionally. You quit too soon. You pick fights or pull away. Not because the moment is unbearable, but because your nervous system is reacting as if the past is happening again. When you say, "I can tolerate discomfort without abandoning myself," you are interrupting that ancient reflex. You are teaching the body something it never learned: that discomfort is not the same as danger. That sensation can rise without destroying you. That staying is now possible. This sentence is not about forcing endurance or minimizing pain. It is about presence, about choosing to remain connected to yourself even when it feels unfamiliar and hard. Discomfort is not a punishment. It is a signal of growth, of truth, of transition. It appears when you are setting boundaries, grieving losses, changing patterns, or choosing authenticity over approval. Every time you abandon yourself in those moments, you reinforce the belief that your inner world is too much to hold. Every time you stay, even briefly, you prove the opposite. Staying does not mean doing nothing. It means breathing through the urge to flee. It means feeling without immediately fixing. It means allowing emotions to move through you instead of ejecting them. In those moments, the body learns a new truth. I can feel this and still be safe. I can be uncomfortable and still be whole. Say this sentence when your impulse screams to run. Say it when discomfort feels urgent and unbearable. You are not weak for wanting to escape. You are human. But you are no longer powerless. Each time you stay with yourself instead of leaving, you repair the original wound. You teach your nervous system that you are here now, that you will not disappear when things get hard. And slowly, staying becomes less frightening than leaving ever was. I am allowed to have boundaries without losing love. For many people, boundaries feel less like protection and more like a threat. Not because boundaries are harmful, but because there was a time when setting them came at a cost. Somewhere in childhood, saying no led to withdrawal. Expressing discomfort was met with guilt, anger, or silence. Having needs made you too much. And so the nervous system learned an unforgiving lesson: closeness depends on compliance. Love survives only if you erase yourself. This lesson does not fade with age, it hardens. As an adult, you may feel an almost physical fear when you imagine asserting a boundary. Your chest tightens. Your mind floods with worst-case scenarios. You rehearse explanations, soften your words, apologize in advance. You choose harmony over honesty because honesty once meant losing connection. You stay quiet not because you agree, but because silence feels safer than separation. Attachment trauma wires the psyche to believe that love is fragile and conditional. If you protect yourself, you will be abandoned. If you disappoint someone, you will be rejected. If you choose yourself, you will be alone. And so you tolerate what hurts. You overextend. You accept crumbs and call it care. You confuse endurance with loyalty. All the while, resentment grows quietly, because part of you knows you are betraying yourself to stay connected. When you say, "I am allowed to have boundaries without losing love," you are re-educating the nervous system. You are introducing a new possibility that love does not require self-erasure. That connection can coexist with truth. That respect is not the enemy of intimacy, but its foundation. This sentence speaks directly to the child who had to choose between being real and being loved. It tells them that this choice no longer exists. Boundaries are not walls meant to push others away. They are lines that show where you end and another person begins. They allow relationships to breathe. They prevent resentment from poisoning connection. Love that demands you abandon yourself to maintain it is not secure love. It is attachment built on fear. Real love can tolerate limits. It can survive disappointment. It can adapt to your humanity. This sentence also challenges a deeper fear that if you are honest about your needs, others will see who you really are and leave. But boundaries do not create abandonment. They reveal alignment. They show you who can meet you with respect and who only love the version of you that never said no. Losing the latter is not a failure, it is clarity. Each time you honor a boundary and remain present, something inside you repairs. The body learns that asserting yourself does not automatically lead to danger. That love does not vanish the moment you protect your inner world. And even if someone does walk away, you are no longer left with the deeper wound of having abandoned yourself to keep them. You are allowed to have boundaries without losing love, and the love that remains, starting with your own, is the kind that finally feels safe. I can hold both strength and softness. Trauma does not just wound emotions, it fractures identity. When the environment is unsafe, the psyche adapts by choosing extremes. You become what kept you alive. For some, that meant becoming strong too early, self-sufficient, guarded, hyper-independent. You learn not to need, not to ask, not to lean. Vulnerability felt dangerous, so you replaced it with competence. For others, survival required collapse. Heightened sensitivity, emotional attunement, clinging, or disappearance. You learned that safety came from staying close, feeling deeply, or becoming small enough not to provoke harm. Both strategies were intelligent, both were necessary. And both, when carried into adulthood alone, become prisons. Living only in strength hardens the nervous system. You function, perform, endure, but you do not rest. You carry everything alone and call it resilience. Softness feels like weakness, dependence feels humiliating, and asking for help triggers shame. Living only in softness, on the other hand, overwhelms the psyche. Emotions flood without containment. You feel deeply but struggle to protect yourself. Boundaries feel cruel, structure feels suffocating, and strength feels like abandonment of the self you learned to survive as. Wholeness is not choosing one over the other. Wholeness is integration. It is the ability to stand firm without becoming rigid and to feel deeply without collapsing. It is holding the warrior and the child in the same body, the part of you that knows how to protect and the part of you that still longs to be held. Trauma forced these parts apart because together they felt unsafe. Healing invites them back into relationship. When you say, "I can hold both strength and softness," you are challenging a false binary that trauma installed. You are telling the psyche that you no longer have to choose between being defended and being alive. This sentence invites the armored parts to loosen without disappearing, and the tender parts to emerge without fear of being overwhelmed. It creates an inner dialogue instead of an inner war. Strength does not disappear when you soften, it becomes wiser. Softness does not weaken you when it is held by strength, it becomes sustainable. Together, they form resilience that does not require numbness and sensitivity that does not lead to collapse. This integration allows you to set boundaries without cruelty, to feel pain without being consumed by it, to love without losing yourself. As this sentence repeats, the nervous system begins to relax its extremes. The hyper-independent part learns it does not have to do everything alone. The emotionally raw part learns it does not have to drown to be real. You become more present, more flexible, more whole. Not because you erased any part of yourself, but because you finally allowed them to coexist. This is not becoming someone new. It is remembering the fullness that existed before survival demanded division. I choose response over reaction. Reaction is the language of the past. It is fast, automatic, and driven by memory rather than reality. When you react, you are not meeting the present moment. You are reliving an earlier one. The nervous system recognizes a familiar tone, expression, or silence and responds as it once had to in order to survive. There is no pause, no choice, only movement. Reaction is not a failure of character. It is a success of adaptation. It is the body doing what it learned when awareness was a luxury and speed was safety. Trauma wires reaction into the muscles before it reaches the mind. A raised voice tightens the chest. Distance triggers panic. Criticism sparks defensiveness or collapse. These responses happen before thought because once upon a time, thinking came too late. The body learned to protect you first and explain later, but what once kept you safe now keeps you stuck, repeating patterns you no longer want but feel unable to stop. Response is different. Response requires presence. It lives in the brief, uncomfortable space between stimulus and action, the space trauma tries to erase. In that pause, awareness returns. You notice the surge in your body without obeying it. You feel the urge to defend, flee, or attack without immediately acting it out. This moment is small, but it is everything. It is where choice re-enters the system. When you say, I choose response over reaction, you are not promising perfection. You are setting an intention to stay conscious long enough to notice what is happening inside you. You are acknowledging that while you cannot control the first wave of sensation, you can influence what happens next. This sentence teaches the nervous system that awareness is now available, that the present is not the past, and that you are no longer trapped inside reflex. Freedom does not come from controlling emotions or eliminating triggers. That is another form of reaction just dressed up as discipline. Freedom comes from awareness, the ability to witness your inner experience without being consumed by it. In awareness, fear becomes information rather than a command. Anger becomes a signal rather than a weapon. Sadness becomes a feeling rather than an identity. Choosing response over reaction is an act of self-respect. It breaks generational patterns. It changes conversations. It alters relationships. Not because you become passive, but because you become precise. Your words land with intention instead of impulse. Your actions align with values rather than wounds. Each time you pause, even briefly, you reclaim a piece of your life. The past loses its grip, and the present gains weight. This is where freedom lives, not in force, not in suppression, but in the quiet power of awareness returning to the moment, where choice becomes possible again. Today I will not abandon myself. There was a time when abandoning yourself was not a failure. It was survival. You learned to silence your needs because expressing them changed nothing or made things worse. You learned to doubt your feelings because no one mirrored them back to you. You learned to leave yourself before others could, to disappear emotionally in moments when staying present felt too dangerous. Self-abandonment became a quiet skill, a way to stay attached, a way to endure what could not be changed. But what once protected you slowly became a prison. Each time you swallowed your truth, a part of you learned it was not welcome. Each time you chose someone else's comfort over your own reality, the bond with yourself weakened. You adapted so well that you forgot adaptation was not identity. And now, even in safety, even in adulthood, the habit remains. You leave yourself in conversations, in relationships. In decisions, you override your intuition. You dismiss your exhaustion. You betray your inner signals and call it strength. When you say, today I will not abandon myself, you are making the most important vow there is. Not to be perfect, not to be fearless, but to stay. This sentence does not promise that the day will be easy. It promises that whatever arises, fear, shame, grief, anger, longing, you will not disappear from your own experience. You will not gaslight your feelings. You will not minimize your pain to keep the peace. You will not leave yourself alone in moments that require your presence the most. Self-abandonment often happens quietly. It looks like saying yes when your body says no, like laughing when something hurts, like staying silent when your truth trembles in your throat. It looks like doubting your perception, explaining away your instincts, choosing familiarity over integrity. Each of these moments seems small, but together they shape a life lived at a distance from the self. This vow brings you back. It is a daily reorientation. Today I will listen. Today I will pause. Today I will honor what I feel even if I don't act on it immediately. Today I will take myself seriously. The psyche heals through consistency, not grand gestures. Each moment of self-loyalty repairs the original rupture. The moment you learned that staying connected to others required leaving yourself behind. Saying this sentence is an act of re-parenting. It tells the inner child, I am here now. It tells the nervous system, you don't have to do this alone anymore. It builds trust slowly, the way it was once broken, one moment at a time. Over time, the need to disappear lessens. The urge to self-betray softens. Presence becomes less threatening and more familiar. Say it, mean it, let the psyche hear it. Not as a demand, but as a promise. You are no longer negotiating your worth through absence. You are choosing to remain. And that choice, repeated daily, is how everything begins to heal. I am allowed to have boundaries without losing love. Somewhere in childhood, boundaries cost you connection. When you said no, love withdrew. When you expressed discomfort, you were met with guilt, anger, or silence. So you learned that truth was dangerous and self-protection came with consequences. You chose closeness over honesty, harmony over authenticity, survival over selfhood. Now, as an adult, boundaries feel like abandonment waiting to happen. Saying no feels like rejection. Asking for space feels like betrayal. You tolerate what hurts because it feels safer than being alone. The nervous system still believes that love is fragile and conditional, and that protecting yourself will cost you everything. This sentence reparents the psyche. It teaches a new equation. Self-respect does not equal abandonment. Boundaries are not weapons, they are definitions. They tell others where you end and they begin. They protect intimacy instead of destroying it. Love that cannot survive your boundaries was never safe to begin with. When you say this sentence, you are speaking to the child who had to choose between connection and truth. You are telling them that this time, you get both. That love does not require erasure. That being chosen does not require self-betrayal. Boundaries are not a rejection of others, they are an acceptance of yourself. And the nervous system learns, slowly, painfully, that love can stay even when you do. I do not have to repeat what feels familiar. Familiarity is not safety. It is repetition. The unconscious is loyal to patterns, not outcomes. It would rather return to known pain than risk unknown peace. This is why people recreate the same relationships, the same conflicts, the same emotional climates again and again. The psyche mistakes recognition for alignment. What feels familiar often mirrors childhood dynamics, emotional distance, inconsistency, chaos, being needed but not truly seen. These patterns feel like home, not because they are good, but because they are known. The nervous system relaxes in what it recognizes, even if it hurts. Mourning is where you interrupt these loops. When you say, I do not have to repeat what feels familiar, you refuse inherited suffering. You declare that history does not get to dictate destiny. This sentence is not denial, it is differentiation. It separates who you were shaped to be from who you are becoming. You are allowed to choose differently, even if it feels uncomfortable, boring, or strange. Healing often feels unfamiliar before it feels right. Peace may feel empty before it feels safe. This sentence gives you permission to tolerate the unfamiliar long enough for it to become real. You don't heal by becoming someone new. You heal by stopping the daily betrayal of who you already are. Mourning is not a routine. It is a negotiation with the unconscious. Choose your words carefully. They are shaping the life you keep waking up into.